I believe as a medical practitioner that men are biologically wired to be polygamists.
In an era where most Nigerian men are already clamoring, hunting for a license to cheat and juggle multiple partners, a medical doctor is now handing it out, more like empowering, claiming that more sex, even outside marriage, slashes prostate cancer risks by 31%. According to him, Harvard study. Sounds like prevention gold, right? Empowering hookups all in the name of health. As a nurse, for checking for my community, I went into the actual data myself. And sorry, doc, the study says ejaculation, not endless partner. And that right there is how misinformation spreads. You take one scientific findings and stretch it into something people want to believe. So let's slow this down properly, what the research actually says, what was twisted, and what really protects men. Now, let's start with exactly what was said.
I believe as a medical practitioner that men are biologically wired to be polygamists because prostate cancer is one of the slowest growing and one of the ways we can reverse it is sexual activity.
That's his claim that having more sex, even outside marriage, lowers a man's risk of prostate cancer. I didn't say it, he did. And immediately it sounds credible because Harvard is mentioned. But here's where we need to slow down in this propaganda because credibility does not always mean accuracy. So I went into a rabbit hole, the actual study being referenced, not headlines, not social media clips, not Reddit, the data itself. What I found is this. The study does not talk about sex. It talks about ejaculation frequency. That's a very important difference. A very big difference because once you hear more sex, your mind kind of like doesn't stop at biology. It goes to partners. It goes to frequency with other people. It goes to behavior. The study itself stays strictly on ejaculation, not how, not with who, and definitely not outside marriage. Already, he made that up. We are seeing a shift here from what the research actually says to how it's being presented. And this is where we really need to be very careful because once a scientific term is replaced with something broader, the meaning changes. And in health, small changes in wordings can lead to very big changes in behavior. Let's break that down properly. What ejaculation actually means in this context and how it got turned into more sex. I am going to be real here. The study uses one word, ejaculation. But what people hear is sexual activities. Not just sexual activities with multiple partners, more partners, even outside relationships. So let's stop with interpretations for a second and go back to the actual data. Here is the study being referenced, including the Harvard summary, and it looks at ejaculation frequency. If you look at the headline, it states, men who reported higher ejaculation frequency around 21 times per month showed a lower association with prostate cancer risk. Notice the word association. Not prevention, not protection, not a guarantee, and definitely not a prescription to increase your number of partners because this is observational data. It tracks patterns. It does not prove cause and effect. Meaning, we say something happening, but we cannot say that one thing directly caused the other. If you look at the Harvard source people are quoting, they make this very, very clear. They explicitly state that this information should never replace advice from a qualified clinician. In simple terms, it's a disclaimer. And you know what that means. This is not medical instruction. This is not lifestyle advice. This is not a license to change your behavior. It is an observation and nothing more. So when a doctor like this, takes that kind of data and turns it into have more sexual activities, even outside marriage, that is not interpretation. That is what I call distortion. Because when you take a narrow scientific observation about ejaculation and turn it into more sexual activities, more partners, or now even more wives, you are no longer educating people. You are feeding them a narrative they already want to hear. Let's not pretend we don't know how this lands, especially in a culture like Nigeria, where men are clamoring for justification. This kind of message does not stay in the lab. It enters marriages, it enters arguments, it enters excuses. Today it is, the study says more sexual activities helps. Tomorrow it becomes, my wife is the reason I am not getting enough. And before you know it, bad interpretation becomes blame. And blame gets dressed up as health advice. He even went on to say that men with one wife die younger, while men with more wives live longer.
Men come to the clinic now and say, Doc, when I'm with my wife, this thing doesn't work. But when I go to my side chick, it wakes up. I just laugh because that's a scientifically proven fact. Men with 2, 3 wives tend to live an average of 7.5 years longer than men with one man, one woman. One man, one woman, that man's sexual activity is going to decrease after the age of 50.
Where is that data? Because when you actually look or search for this kind of thing, what you find is not some clean medical truths, that more wives extend a man's life. What you find are old, broad observational claims that people keep recycling without contest. Claims mixed up with wealth, environment, support system, and population differences. And while that gets repeated like wisdom, published observational research has also reported something people conveniently leave out. Men in polygamous marriages showed higher odds of significant coronary artery disease, including more severe vessel disease. So no, there is no clean scientific basis here for saying more wives, longer life. That is not a prevention strategy. That is a slogan. And in Nigeria, that matters a whole lot, even more, because many people still treat doctors like unquestionable authority. A doctor speaks and people don't pause to read the study. They don't check what was actually measured. They accept it, they repeat it, and build behavior around it. That is why doctors have to be more careful, not less. Because when you, as a doctor, spreads an oversimplified message like this, it doesn't stay as content. It becomes permission, and it causes problem because it is built around behavior. And that is the real issue here, not just one viral clip. But what happens when medical authority is used to give moral cover to behavior the research never actually endorsed? So, if more partners are not the answer and more wives are definitely not some longevity hack, what actually does protect men? Let's go back to real medicine for a second. Not viral advice, not headlines, actual evidence-based medicine. Because when you strip everything down, you realize that prostate cancer risk is not built on lifestyle myth. It's built on biology first. Let's look at the first risk factor, which is the biggest risk factor: age. Most cases show up after the age of 50. And for Black men, including Nigerian men, the risk is higher and often starts earlier. That has nothing to do with how many partners you have. Then comes family history, which we don't even take seriously. If your father, your brother, someone close to you has had prostate cancer, your risk is already elevated. And no amount of more sexual activities cancel that. Then let's look at your lifestyle. What do you eat? How much do you move? How do you live your daily life? Let me tell you, diet high in processed meat, low in fiber, low in vegetables, those patterns are linked to worse outcomes over time. Physical inactivities, weight gains, especially around the belly area, long period of sitting, these are measurable risk, not how many people you sleep with in a month. And then let's look at the most important one people tend to ignore: screening. PSA, even offered free, Nigerian men fear this. As a nurse, from me to you, regular medical checkups, knowing your numbers before something becomes a problem is very, very important. Because prostate cancer, when caught early, is often manageable, sometimes even completely treatable. Notice something here. Everything that actually protects men requires responsibility. It requires awareness, consistency, discipline, not shortcuts, not viral interpretation of studies, and definitely not permission disguised as prevention. Because real prevention is not exciting. It doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't justify behavior people already want to engage in, but it works. So the next time you hear a health claim that sounds convenient, ask yourself, is this actual science or is this something I just want to believe? Because the study said ejaculation, it did not say more partners. It did not say more wives. And it definitely did not say cheating is preventive medicine. If this helps you see things clearly, share it. Someone else needs to hear it. Drop your comment on the comment section below. Tell me your thought and subscribe for real evidence-based health, not headlines. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy, stay grounded. Bye for now.